Picture a man standing alone in the pouring rain. No home, no coat that fits, no one waiting anywhere for him. The world points and laughs at his broken shoes and crooked hat. But watch closely. He doesn't cry. He smiles. Because long before Charlie Chaplin became a legend, he was just a hungry, forgotten boy who learned the hardest lesson of all, that laughter can survive, even when everything else is stripped away. This is not a story about comedy. It's a story about surviving pain with a smile. And today, that same lesson is waiting for you. There was a man who had nothing. No home to return to when the streets grew cold. No money in his pocket. Not even enough for a warm loaf of bread. No one waiting for him at night. No light left on in a window somewhere. No voice calling his name when the day was done. He was alone in a way that only the poorest of hearts can understand. Not just lonely in body, but lonely in a world that had simply stopped noticing him. His shoes were broken, the soles hanging loose like tired old friends who had walked too many miles together. His hat sat crooked on his head, dented from years of rain and struggle. Yet he still wore it because it was his. Because it was the one thing in the world that belonged only to him. His coat was too big, his trousers too worn, his cane a little bent. Just like the man who carried it, he looked to the world like a joke, a shadow of a man, something to point at and laugh, and the world did laugh. People passed him on the street and smiled not with kindness, but with mockery. Children giggled at his walk, at his wobble, at the way his oversized shoes flapped against the pavement. Shopkeepers waved him away before he even asked for help. Doors that could have opened stayed shut. Windows that could have offered warmth stayed dark. To the world he was invisible, or worse. He was entertainment for their pity. But here is the strange and beautiful truth. He did not hide his face in shame. He did not lower his head and disappear into the crowd, pretending he didn't exist. He did not let their laughter turn into his own self-hatred. Instead, something quiet and powerful stirred inside him a decision, small but unbreakable, that no matter how empty his stomach was, no matter how cold the night became, he would not let the world take away the one thing that was truly his spirit. So he walked forward. Rain began to fall, not a gentle drizzle, but a heavy, unforgiving downpour, the kind that soaks through thin coats and chills bones. Thunder rumbled somewhere far off, like the world itself was groaning under its own weight. The streets turned to rivers of gray water, reflecting broken streetlights and the tired faces of strangers rushing for shelter. Everyone else ran. Everyone else hid. But he did not run. He walked slowly, almost gracefully, through the storm, his crooked hat now dripping, his coat clinging to his thin shoulders, his broken shoes splashing through puddles with every uneven step. And then, in the middle of all that suffering, in the middle of all that cold and rejection and loneliness, he smiled. Not a smile of pretending everything was fine, not a smile hiding pain. It was a smile of quiet defiance, a smile that said, you can take my home, my money, my comfort, even my dignity in your eyes, but you cannot take this from me. His smile was not weakness. It was rebellion. It was the lost flag still standing on a battlefield that had taken everything else. Because that smile, small, simple, human, was the only thing the world could not touch. It could not be stolen. It could not be rained away. It could not be laughed out of existence. It was his, entirely his, forged not from happiness, but from the sheer will to still feel something warm inside a cold and uncaring world. So he walked on, into the storm, into the laughter, into the darkness, not because he was foolish, but because somewhere, deep inside, he understood something the world had forgotten. That dignity is not given by others. It is chosen, quietly, again and again, no matter how hard life tries to take it away. Long before the world knew his name, Charlie Chaplin knew hunger. Real hunger. A kind that gnaws quietly at a child's stomach in the middle of the night. A kind that makes a boy stare at a baker's window, not for the taste of bread, but for the simple dream of having enough. He grew up in the grey streets of London, where poverty was not a story told to him, it was the air he breathed, the shoes he didn't have, the meals that sometimes never came. He knew empty rooms before he ever knew applause. Rooms with no fire in winter. Rooms where silence was heavier than any noise, because silence meant no one was coming home. His mother's mind slowly slipped away into illness, and young Charlie learned far too early what it felt like to be a child standing alone in a world that offered him no comfort, no safety net, no promises. He learned what it meant to be forgotten by the very world he would one day make laugh. And yet somewhere in all of that sadness, something extraordinary began to stir. Not happiness, not comfort, but freedom. A strange, quiet, unexpected kind of freedom that only the broken sometimes discover, the freedom of laughter. Not laughter because life was easy, not laughter because the pain wasn't real, but laughter as an act of defiance. Laughter is the only weapon a poor, hungry, forgotten boy had against a world that had given him nothing else. He began to notice something most people never see, that comedy and tragedy are not opposites. They are neighbors. They live in the same house, share the same walls, breathe the same air. A man slipping on a banana peel is funny, until you realize he slipped because his shoes were falling apart, because he hadn't eaten, because he had nowhere left to fall but down. Chaplin understood this truth in his bones, and instead of hiding from it, he embraced it. Turned his tears into comedy. Every stumble the tramp took on screen was really every stumble Chaplin had taken in life. Every oversized coat, every crooked hat, every hungry glance at food he couldn't afford, these were not just jokes. They were confessions. They were his own childhood, his own suffering, dressed up in a costume of laughter, so the world could swallow the pain a little more gently. He did not erase his sadness. He transformed it. He took the very things that once made him feel small and turned them into something that made millions of people feel less alone. And comedy became his shield. When the world was cruel, laughter protected him. When memories of hunger and loneliness threatened to break him, laughter gave him a place to stand. It became more than performance. It became survival, a way to face pain without being destroyed by it. A way to say, yes, I have suffered. Yes, I have been hungry, forgotten, and afraid. But I will not let that suffering have the final word. It became his strength, because it takes far more courage to laugh through sorrow than to simply surrender to it. It takes a certain kind of quiet bravery to look at your own painful past and turn it into something that heals others instead of poisoning yourself. Chaplin didn't run from his wounds, he walked through them, slowly, with a smile stitched carefully over a breaking heart. And in the end, comedy became his silent prayer. A prayer without words, a prayer whispered not to the heavens, but to every person watching you are not alone in your suffering. Look, even I have known hunger. Even I have known emptiness. And still I found a way to laugh. So can you. This was Chaplin's turning point, not the moment fame found him, but the moment he chose to turn his deepest pain into the very thing that would heal a broken world. So today, wherever you are, whatever you are carrying, if your heart feels heavy, if the weight of the world seems to be pressing down on your shoulders, remember the tramp. Remember the man in the broken shoes, walking through streets that offered him nothing. Remember the crooked hat, the oversized coat, the cane that trembled slightly with every uneven step. remember that he had every reason to stop, every reason to sit down in the rain and simply give up. No home to return to, no money to save him, no one waiting to catch him if he fell. And yet he kept walking anyway. Not because the road ahead was easy, not because someone promised him it would get better. He kept walking because somewhere inside him, he understood a truth most people spend a lifetime trying to learn, that movement itself is hope. That one more step, however small, however uncertain, is a quiet act of faith in tomorrow. He didn't wait for the storm to pass before he smiled. He smiled while the storm was still falling on him. That is the lesson hidden inside every stumble, every fall, every crooked step the tramp ever took. A day without laughter truly is a day wasted. Not because pain isn't real, pain is real, painfully real. And no one should ever pretend otherwise. Life will still knock the wind out of you. Life will still hand you empty rooms and broken shoes and mornings where getting out of bed feels like carrying a mountain on your back. That truth does not disappear just because we choose to smile. But joy, real joy, the kind Chaplin discovered in the middle of his own suffering, joy, is not the opposite of pain. Joy is what rises beside it. Joy is your quiet power, your inner rebellion, your way of saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, I am struggling, but I am still here, and I still choose to feel something warm inside all this cold. So today, smile even if it's small. You don't need a reason as big as the ones Chaplin carried. You don't need to have conquered your hardest days yet. Maybe your smile today is just a little curve at the corner of your mouth while you're still fighting your battles quietly, invisibly, the way so many people do. That's enough. That small smile is not weakness. It is not denial. It is defiance, the same defiance the tramp wore like a badge as he walked through the rain. Let that smile be your quiet victory. Not a victory the world will applaud. Not a victory that will make headlines or turn heads, but a victory only you will know, about the moment you chose to keep walking instead of giving up. The moment you let a little light in instead of surrendering completely to the dark. These are the victories that matter most, because no one hands them to you. You have to choose them again and again, one heavy morning at a time. So let it be your golden rule, just as it was Chaplin's, to laugh even when your heart aches, to smile even when the world gives you every reason not to keep walking crooked hat and broken shoes and all, because somewhere ahead, even if you cannot see it yet, there is a little more light waiting for you. The tramp never knew what tomorrow held. He simply chose every single day to meet it with a smile. And so can you.